Most people waste $30,000 on their first camper van because they don't understand this one thing about depreciation curves and build quality thresholds. I'm going to show you exactly where your money actually goes at $50,000, $80,000, and $100,000, and more importantly, which price point is the trap that dealers pray you fall into. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact cutoff points where you stop paying for value and start paying for Instagram aesthetics. We're comparing 3 real vans at these price points: a used Winnebago Solis in the low 50s, the Storyteller Overland Mode at $78,000, and the Airstream Interstate 19 at $105,000. But this isn't about which one's prettier. This is about cost per year of ownership, hidden failure points, and what you're actually sacrificing or gaining every $10,000 you go up or down. Section 1. The $50K reality check. Let's start at $50K because this is where most first-time buyers think they're getting a deal. In the used market, you're looking at 2 to 3-year-old Winnebago Solis models or similar Ram ProMaster-based conversions. You're getting a wet bath, a 2-burner stove, and exactly 79 inches of interior height. Sounds reasonable. Here's what they don't tell you in the dealer lot. At this price point, you're buying contractor-grade components installed by technicians who are paid by unit completed, not by quality. The fridge setup, typically a Dometic or similar compressor model, is mounted with 4 screws into Lawan plywood that'll split the first time you hit a frost heave on the Trans-Canada Highway. I've watched these installations fail at 30,000 miles. The furnace is commonly a Suburban or Atwood unit rated around 30,000 BTU. It works, it'll keep you alive at 20 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's pulling 12 amps per hour on high, which means your 200 amp hour battery system, and yes, that's usually all you get at this price, gives you maybe 9 hours of heat before you're dead in the water. No lithium upgrade, no battery management system that talks to your phone. You're checking voltage with a handheld meter like it's 1995. And here's the thing nobody mentions about the $50,000 category. Based on resale tracking across RV Trader and auction data, these vans typically lose 25 to 30% of their value in year 1. Not because they're bad vans, they're not, but because the market knows that at this price point, corners were cut in places you won't discover until month 14, when your ceiling fabric starts delaminating from moisture intrusion around the roof vent. But let's be honest about what you're gaining. You can write a check for $52,000, drive off the lot, and be in Moab by Thursday. No 6-month custom build wait, no paralysis by analysis over countertop materials. You're mobile, you're functional, and if you're retired and planning to do 3-week trips 4 times a year, this might be exactly enough van. The question is whether you're okay replacing the water pump in year 2 and the furnace in year 4, because statistically, you will. Section 2. The $80K sweet spot, or a trap. Now we jump to $80,000. This is where it gets interesting because this is where the marketing gets very, very good and your rational brain starts negotiating with your emotional brain. The Storyteller Overland Mode on a Ford Transit represents this bracket. You're now typically looking at 300 plus watts of solar, a lithium system with real capacity, often in the 400 amp hour range, and a build quality that passes the knuckle knock test on the cabinetry. Here's what actually changed for your $30,000. The chassis got better. You're on a Ford Transit with the 3.5 EcoBoost, which means you're getting 17 miles per gallon instead of 13, and you've got a 10,000-pound towing capacity if you're pulling a gear trailer. That's not nothing. Over 5 years of 12,000-mile annual driving, that fuel economy difference saves you roughly $6,000 at current gas prices. But here's where people get fooled. They see the bamboo countertops and the brushed nickel faucets, and they think they're buying luxury. You're not buying luxury, you're buying durability masquerading as aesthetics. That countertop isn't bamboo because it's pretty, it's bamboo because it has a Janka hardness rating of 1380 and won't dent when you drop a cast iron pan on it at 7,000 feet in Colorado. I've watched these installations fail at 30,000 miles. The electrical system is where this price point separates itself. In most builds at this tier, you're getting a Victron or similar quality inverter charger that can actually pull shore power and solar simultaneously. plus a battery management system that'll send you a push notification when you're at 20% capacity. This is the difference between waking up at 4 a.m. in Montana with no heat and sleeping through the night because your system told you at 9 p.m. that you needed to run the generator for an hour. The insulation upgrade is invisible but critical. At $80,000, you're commonly getting Thinsulate or equivalent spray foam in the walls instead of fiberglass bats. That's a 4-degree difference in summer and an 8-degree difference in winter. It sounds marginal. It's not. That's the difference between using your house batteries 2 hours per night versus 5 hours per night. Over a winter in the Southwest, that's the difference between replacing your house batteries every 4 years versus every 7 years. Here's the controversial part. Based on component cost analysis and builder margin structures, I think $80,000 is potentially the worst value proposition in the entire campervan market right now. You heard me right. Here's why. You're paying a $30,000 premium over the $50,000 tier, but when you break down what you're actually getting, you're looking at maybe $12,000 in chassis upgrade, $8,000 in electrical components, and $4,000 in insulation and finish materials. The rest, builder margin and brand positioning. Meanwhile, you're still on a Transit or ProMaster platform with a 3-year, 36,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. Compare that to the Sprinter platform, where you're getting a more robust drivetrain with documented longevity past 150,000 miles and significantly better resale retention. You haven't crossed that territory. You're in no man's land. You've spent enough that you're terrified of depreciation, but not enough to get the drivetrain longevity and resale retention that actually protects your investment long term. This is the price point where people convince themselves they're being smart by going middle. But here's what 7 months of actual ownership looks like at this level. A couple I spoke to in Sedona told me their air conditioning couldn't keep up in July because they had a 13,500 BTU unit trying to cool a metal box in 105-degree heat. They needed the 15,000 BTU capacity that typically comes standard at the $100,000 tier, but they couldn't retrofit it without major electrical work. They were stuck with what they bought, and they realized they'd paid luxury prices for mid-grade capability. The $100,000 reality. At $100,000, everything changes. The Airstream Interstate 19 on a Mercedes Sprinter chassis. This is where you stop buying a campervan and start buying a Class B motorhome with an entirely different set of expectations, warranties, and failure points. The Sprinter 3.0 turbo diesel is the headline here. You're getting 22 miles per gallon highway, 150,000-mile expected lifespan before major service, and a chassis widely regarded as the gold standard for this application. Ram ProMasters and Ford Transits are commercial delivery vans with camper conversions bolted in. The Sprinter platform has decades of motorhome upfit history with documented durability data. You feel it in the ride, you see it in the resale data. But here's what nobody tells you about the $100,000 bracket. Your cost of ownership goes up in ways you didn't budget for. That Sprinter diesel, oil changes are $400 at the dealer. The DEF system that makes it emissions compliant, many owners report issues between 60 and 80,000 miles, and when it fails, you're looking at a $3,200 repair that may not be covered under your standard warranty timeline. And one more thing, Sprinter parts and service access can be more limited in rural areas compared to Ford. If you're planning to travel remote, that's a real consideration. Factor all of that into your insurance and maintenance planning, because APR financing on a $100,000 note means every unexpected repair hurts more. The interior is where Airstream justifies the price. You're getting marine-grade plywood with aluminum framing, the same construction they use in their travel trailers that last 40 years. The fit and finish is legitimately tight. No rattles, no panel gaps, no settling over time. I've been in 7-year-old Airstream Interstates that still feel new. I've been in 3-year-old budget builds that feel like they're held together with hope and silicone. The thermal management is where physics meets budget. Airstream typically uses their proprietary climate control system. It's not just air conditioning, it's zoned climate with a heat pump that works down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the system you need if you're planning to winter in Vermont or Quebec. At $80,000, you're still dealing with resistive heat and hoping your diesel furnace fails. At $100,000, you've got redundancy and engineering, but only if you actually use that capability. If you're snowbirding in Arizona and spending summers in Oregon, you're paying for thermal capacity you'll never need. Section 4. The real cost analysis. Let's do the math nobody wants to do. Assuming cash purchase and average national rates, here's what 5-year ownership actually costs. $50,000 van, 5 years ownership, 12,000 miles per year. Based on current market depreciation trends, you're losing roughly $22,000 in value. Maintenance averages $1,800 per year. Fuel at 13 mpg and $4 per gallon is $18,000. Insurance runs about $1,400 annually. You're all in at $58,000 over 5 years. $100,000 van, same usage, depreciation is approximately $30,000.
Maintenance averages $3,200 per year because Sprinter parts and dealer labor cost more. Fuel at 22 mpg is $11,000. Insurance is $2,100 per year. You're all in at $61,000 over 5 years. Wait, that can't be right. The $100,000 van only costs $3,000 more to own over 5 years? That's the fuel savings and resale retention doing the work. But here's the critical asterisk. This math only works if you actually keep it 5 years and drive those miles. If you upgrade in 3 years or only drive 6,000 miles annually, the depreciation curve destroys this equation, and you're better off at $50,000, learning what you need and upgrading later with real experience. Here's the pattern you need to understand. When the total cost gap between price tiers compresses over 5 years, you're no longer choosing based on price, you're choosing comfort and durability. That's the shift most buyers miss. They see the sticker price and panic, but the real question is cost per year of actual ownership under your specific usage pattern. Run that number first, then decide. Section 5. Who should buy what? If you're a retiree planning 3-month snowbird trips to Arizona, buying once and keeping it for 10+ years, and you've got the cash or can finance comfortably, buy at $100,000. The chassis will outlast you, the warranty coverage is more comprehensive, and the comfort level over 3 months straight is non-negotiable. If you're a family testing the van life waters, planning weekend trips and 2-week summer adventures, not sure if this lifestyle is permanent, buy at $50,000 or go used at $35,000. Learn on a cheaper platform. You'll figure out what you actually need versus what the Instagram van lifers told you to want. If you're full-timing, traveling year-round, working remote, and living in the van 365, this is going to make people angry, but I'd skip all 3 of these and buy a used Sprinter-based van at $70,000 that's 2 years old. Let someone else eat the initial depreciation, get the Sprinter chassis, and upgrade the electrical yourself for $8,000. You'll be all in at $78,000 with a better platform than the new $80,000 option. Here's my actual opinion. The camper van industry is currently overpricing the middle market to exploit people's fear of buying too cheap. $80,000 is not the sweet spot. It's the margin optimization spot for manufacturers. You're paying for upgraded finishes on a platform that doesn't structurally deserve them. If you can't afford $100,000, don't stretch to $80,000 trying to get close enough. Buy at $50,000, use it hard, learn what breaks and what you actually miss, and upgrade in 3 years when you know whether you need more solar or more shower or more fridge space. The market is betting you'll make an emotional decision at $80,000 and regret it at year 4 when you realize you bought the wrong van with too much money to walk away from. The question isn't what you can afford. The question is what you can afford to replace when it breaks, how long you plan to own it, and whether you'll actually use the capability you're paying for. Those 3 variables dictate everything. Ignore the Instagram vans, ignore the dealership pressure. Run your actual numbers on fuel, insurance, depreciation, and maintenance based on your real usage patterns. The right answer is probably more extreme than you think, either cheaper or more expensive than the middle ground. If you're in the $80,000 bracket right now, you need to decide whether you bought for function or fear. And if you're uncomfortable hearing this about the $80,000 tier, that probably means you needed to. Drop a comment and tell me which one it was. I want to hear the real experience, not the brochure version.